power of silent attraction. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who didn't say much, but somehow the entire room noticed them? They weren't the loudest. They didn't try to impress anyone, but there was something about their presence, grounded, calm, intentional, that made you stop and pay attention. That's silent attraction. In today's world, we're surrounded by noise. People chase attention. They talk over each other, show off, overcompensate, thinking that louder means better. But true power doesn't shout. It whispers. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are, the steady posture, the calm tone, the eyes that truly see, the body language that says, I don't need to prove anything because I already know my worth. You see, real attraction doesn't come from gimmicks or games. It comes from alignment, from stillness, from having your inner world in order. And when that happens, you don't need to chase, you attract. In this video, we're going to explore 11 silent but powerful habits that make you naturally magnetic without saying a single word. These are the habits of people who walk into a room and own it without needing to dominate it. The kind of people others trust, respect, and want to be around. Not because of what they say, but because of how they carry themselves. So if you're ready to upgrade your energy, strengthen your presence, and tap into that deep, quiet power within, you're in the right place. Let's begin. 1. Being calm in chaos. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a stressful situation, at work, in traffic, or during a heated conversation, and noticed that one person who didn't flinch, didn't raise their voice, didn't react impulsively, but just stayed calm? That kind of presence is unforgettable. And believe it or not, that's not luck, it's power. In a world full of noise, reactivity, and emotional outbursts, calmness is magnetic. It stands out because it's rare. When everyone else is panicking, the person who can remain centered, who breathes, pauses, and responds instead of reacts, instantly becomes a source of safety and strength. And people feel that. You don't have to say anything. Your calm energy speaks louder than words. It tells people, I'm not here to add to the chaos. I'm here to ground it. But let's be honest, staying calm under pressure isn't always easy. It takes practice. It takes awareness. It takes the ability to not let every little thing shake you. And that doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you've built a relationship with them. You understand your inner world so deeply that external chaos doesn't control you anymore. This is what Stoic philosophers train for. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet still reminded himself daily to remain unmoved by insults, pressure, and panic. Why? Because the man who can govern himself in turbulent times governs everything. Calmness is not weakness. It's a form of self-mastery. Think about a firefighter walking into a burning building. They don't run. They don't scream. They move with focus. Why? Because panic doesn't solve problems. And the same goes for life. Your calm is not just for you. It affects everyone around you. It sets the emotional tone. It creates space for clarity, trust, and solutions. And guess what? Calmness is attractive, deeply attractive. People are drawn to those who make them feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally. When your energy says, I've got this, people naturally want to follow, listen, trust. So how do you cultivate that kind of calm? It starts with small things. When someone cuts you off in traffic, can you breathe instead of rage? When your boss throws unexpected stress at you, can you pause instead of panic? When someone pushes your buttons, can you observe your reaction instead of becoming it? Every one of these moments is a training ground, and every time you stay calm, you grow stronger on the inside. You're rewiring your nervous system. You're becoming a person who radiates strength without needing to dominate. Because calm isn't the absence of storms. It's the ability to stay steady in the middle of them. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what makes you silently powerful. And that's just the beginning. 2. Powerful body language. Most people overlook this, but it's one of the most powerful tools you already have. You don't need to say a word to leave an unforgettable impression. Sometimes the way you enter a room speaks volumes before your mouth even opens. We live in a world obsessed with language. Words, captions, replies, clever comebacks. But underneath all of that noise, there's a silent language that cuts through deeper. It's your body language. And it's one of the strongest indicators of your inner confidence, even when you're silent. Think about the last time you saw someone walk into a room and everyone subtly shifted their attention toward them, without any announcement. No flashy outfit, no loud voice, just presence. What was it? It was the way they moved. Calm, intentional, open. It was their posture, upright but relaxed. Shoulders back, chest open. It was their eye contact. Steady, never aggressive, but grounded. It was the stillness in their body, the confidence that didn't need to fidget or fill the space with unnecessary motion. That's the power of body language. And here's the key. It reveals how you feel about yourself. You can't fake it for long. If you shrink yourself physically, avoid eye contact, or move like you're apologizing for taking up space, the world picks up on that. But when your body says, I know who I am and I belong here, people respond, even if you don't utter a single word. Let's make it practical. Next time you walk in a room, try this. Don't rush. Walk slowly, deliberately, breathe. Keep your head level, not tilted up with arrogance, not bowed with insecurity. Let your eyes meet others without flinching. Don't slouch, but don't stiffen up either. Be relaxed but grounded. And don't be afraid of stillness. You don't need to do too much. Just be there. Present. Anchored. This isn't about putting on a show. It's about removing the layers of self-doubt and letting your true presence emerge. Because the truth is, confidence is not performance. It's alignment. When you respect yourself deeply, your body naturally mirrors that. And when others see it, they feel it. You become someone they want to listen to, trust, follow, not because of what you say, but because of who you are. And here's something else. Confident body language doesn't mean dominating others. It means being at peace with yourself. That peace radiates. It's not about taking the spotlight. It's about being the steady flame that people naturally gravitate toward. In fact, the people who seem the most magnetic are usually the ones who don't try to be. They're simply present, comfortable in their own skin. And that kind of silent power, it's rare. It's unforgettable. So the next time you feel unsure, remember, you don't need the perfect words. You just need presence. Let your posture speak of your strength. Let your stillness speak of your self-trust. And let your eyes speak of the quiet confidence that doesn't chase approval because it already knows its worth. You don't need to say more. Just stand like someone who already believes it. 3. Emotional control. The quiet superpower that earns deep respect. Sabida to pause for a moment and think, how often do we react without thinking? Someone cuts us off in traffic, we explode. A coworker says something irritating, we fire back. A loved one disappoints us, we lash out. It happens fast, too fast. And yet, those reactions often cost us more than we realize. But here's the thing. The most quietly powerful people in the world don't operate like that. They don't react. They respond. And there's a big difference. Reacting is automatic. It's impulsive. It's driven by emotion, anger, fear, ego. Responding, on the other hand, comes from awareness. It's the art of pausing, taking a breath, and choosing a better path forward. And that choice, it earns trust, it builds depth, it signals maturity. Now let's be honest, emotional control isn't glamorous. It doesn't shout, it doesn't win arguments on the spot. But over time, it wins something far more valuable: respect. Because people are naturally drawn to those who can stay calm under pressure. That kind of grounded presence makes others feel safe. And in today's chaotic world, safety is rare and magnetic. Let me give you an example. Think of someone you admire deeply, not for what they've accomplished, but for how they carry themselves. Maybe it's a parent, a mentor, or even a fictional character like Marcus Aurelius or Atticus Finch. Chances are they weren't emotionally reactive. They weren't shouting to be heard. Instead, they led with calm. They made space before they spoke. They responded with wisdom, not ego. That's emotional mastery, and it sticks with people. The truth is, silent strength is far more attractive than loud emotion. When you can hold your center, when you can feel deeply but still choose wisely, that's not weakness. That's power, real power. And it tells the world, I've done the inner work. You can count on me. You don't need to be a robot. You don't need to suppress everything. But you do need to learn how to slow down the moment between stimulus and response. Because in that space lies your freedom and your influence. So the next time someone tries to trigger you, pause, feel the emotion, breathe through it, and then ask yourself, what outcome do I actually want? Do I want to be right, or do I want to be respected? Because here's the truth most people never hear. Mastering your emotions doesn't just help you avoid conflict. It makes you magnetic. It makes you the kind of person people admire, trust, and follow, even in silence. And that, my friend, is the essence of quiet confidence. 4. Genuine listening. The underrated habit that makes you instantly magnetic. Let me ask you something you might not hear often. When was the last time someone truly listened to you? Not nodded politely, not waited for their turn to speak, but really genuinely listened, with full presence, with real attention, with no distractions. Hard to recall, isn't it? That's because deep listening has become a lost art in a noisy world. Everyone wants to be heard, but very few are willing to hear. And yet, those who do, they hold a rare and quiet power. Because here's the truth. People are drawn to those who make them feel seen, understood, and safe. Not by talking more, but by listening better. Think about the most charismatic person you've ever met. Chances are it wasn't their stories or charm that stuck with you. It was how they made you feel when you spoke. That sense of being fully heard. No phone in hand. No wandering eyes, just presence. That alone makes someone unforgettable. You see, genuine listening doesn't just improve relationships. It elevates your presence. It tells people, you matter. I'm here with you. And in that space, trust is built. Connection grows. Respect deepens. Now here's the thing. Most people think listening is passive, but true listening is active. It requires discipline, emotional control, empathy. It means slowing down your own thoughts long enough to enter someone else's world, to not just hear their words, but understand the emotion beneath them. In conversations, the person who listens the deepest often holds the most influence, not because they dominate, but because they don't need to. They create a space so rare, so calming, that others are naturally drawn in. Let me share a personal insight. Years ago, I sat across from someone who barely spoke during our time together. But the way they listened, the gentle eye contact, the thoughtful silence, the subtle nods, made me feel more respected in 5 minutes than I had in some entire relationships. They didn't need to impress me. Their presence did all the work, and that experience never left me. So if you want to build silent attraction, if you want to radiate that calm, grounded strength, start by mastering this one thing, the habit of listening like nothing else matters in that moment. Because when you give someone your full attention, you're giving them something most people crave and rarely receive: presence. And what you'll find is this: when you become the kind of person who listens deeply, people open up around you. They lean in. They trust you. They remember you, not because of what you said, but because of how you made them feel heard. 5. Speak less, say more. The power of intentional words. Have you ever noticed that the most compelling people in a room often aren't the ones who talk the most? They're not constantly sharing opinions, cracking jokes, or dominating conversations. In fact, sometimes they say very little. But when they do speak, people lean in. They listen. Why? Because a silence, when paired with presence, creates weight. It creates curiosity. You see, in today's world, we're drowning in noise. Everyone's talking on social media and meetings at dinner tables, but very few are truly saying something. That's what makes minimalism in speech such a powerful form of social intelligence. It's not about being quiet out of insecurity. It's about being selective with your energy and intentional with your voice. Think about the people you respect the most. Do they speak impulsively? Or do they pause, consider, and then deliver a message that actually carries meaning? When you speak less, every word you do say becomes more valuable. It holds weight. It signals thoughtfulness, maturity, and emotional discipline. And let's not ignore the subtle magnetism of mystery. When you're not constantly filling the air with words, you leave space. And in that space, people start to wonder about you. Who are you? What do you think? What's going on behind those calm eyes? And just like that, you've created intrigue, not by impressing, but by withholding. Now, this doesn't mean you never speak. It means you don't speak mindlessly. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this helpful? Is it honest? Is it necessary? Sometimes silence says more than 1,000 words ever could, especially when that silence comes from a place of confidence, not fear. I once heard a quote that stuck with me. Talkers are usually not thinkers, and thinkers are usually not talkers. That doesn't mean you should never talk, but it does mean that when you do, speak like someone who has something worth hearing, not to perform, not to impress, but to connect, to offer value, to lead with clarity. If you're the kind of person who wants to develop presence, not through force, but through refinement, start by editing your speech. Speak slower, choose your words, get comfortable with silence. Let your body language, your eye contact, and your energy do the talking when words aren't necessary. Because here's the quiet truth. In a world addicted to noise, those who master the art of speaking less, but saying more, rise above the crowd. They earn trust, they draw attention, and most importantly, they influence without having to shout. So next time you're tempted to fill the silence, pause. Choose calm over clutter. And remember, what you don't say often speaks the loudest. 6. The quiet power of humor. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room to be the funniest. In fact, some of the most magnetic, charming people I've ever met weren't the ones cracking jokes nonstop. They were the ones who made a single, well-timed comment that had everyone laughing and thinking. That's the magic of subtle humor. You see, we often associate humor with volume, stand-up comedians, class clowns, big personalities. But subtle humor is different. It's the wink behind the words, the clever observation, the quiet play on perspective. It's not about performance. It's about perception. When someone can drop a line so sharp and intelligent, it makes you smile days later. That's a whole different level of charm. Why? Because it signals something deeper: intelligence, emotional awareness, and comfort in your own skin. You're not trying to be liked, which ironically makes people like you even more. Here's the truth. We're naturally drawn to people who make us feel light. Life is heavy enough. So when someone brings a moment of levity without trying too hard, it creates an instant connection. You feel safe with them, seen, understood. That's not just humor, it's humanity. And here's the best part: subtle humor doesn't demand attention, it invites curiosity. You don't have to shout or steal the spotlight. You just need to be present, aware, and unafraid to let your unique view of the world peek through. A quiet chuckle in the right moment speaks louder than 1,000 forced punchlines. Think about someone you admire for their charisma. I'd bet they have a dry, observant wit. They don't joke at people. They make people laugh with them. Through timing, tone, and emotional intelligence, that's not something you force. That's something you refine. So how can you develop it? Start by listening more. Notice the details others miss. Play with language. Let your mind dance a bit. And most importantly, don't chase laughs. Let humor flow from your natural rhythm, not from a need to impress. When you do that, your words gain power and your presence gains depth. Because here's the truth: people don't just remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel. And if you can make someone feel a little lighter, even for a moment, they'll want to keep coming back to your energy. That's silent attraction at work. So yes, be wise, be grounded, but don't forget to let your wit breathe. Because when quiet confidence meets quiet humor, that's when real magic happens. Now here's the thing: social presence may get people to notice you, but what keeps their respect over time is who you are when no one's watching. It's not just about charm in the room, it's about your habits, your discipline, your integrity. That's the real gravity that silently pulls people towards you. So let's go deeper now into the inner game. Let's talk about self-mastery. 7. Discipline, the quiet magnetism of consistency. Let's be honest. The word discipline doesn't sound very attractive at first, does it? It brings to mind strict routines, early alarms, uncomfortable effort. But in reality, discipline is one of the most quietly magnetic qualities a person can have. It's not flashy, but it speaks volumes without a single word. Why? Because discipline shows. You can feel it in the way someone moves, talks, and takes care of their responsibilities. It's visible in the way they dress, the way they show up, and the way they keep promises, even when no one's watching. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. And in a world full of distractions and short-term dopamine hits, consistency is rare, and rare is attractive. Think about it. When you see someone who trains regularly, eats intentionally, keeps their space clean, shows up on time, and gets things done, you may not even realize why you're drawn to them. But deep down, your subconscious recognizes this person has self-respect. And because they respect themselves, others are more likely to respect them too. There's a unique calmness that comes with discipline, a kind of quiet power. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to announce it. Your habits do the talking. The small things: making your bed, hitting the gym, sticking to a routine, compound into a life that reflects stability. And stability is deeply attractive in a chaotic world. Discipline also signals long-term value. It says, you can count on me, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. That kind of dependability is rare and priceless. Whether it's in friendships, business, or romantic relationships, people gravitate toward those they can trust, and trust is built through repeated action, not occasional effort. But here's the deeper truth. Discipline isn't about controlling everything. It's about choosing what you won't let control you, your mood, your impulses, your excuses. You might not always feel motivated, but discipline shows up anyway. That kind of resilience is magnetic. It's the difference between being a leaf blown around by the wind and being the tree that holds steady through the storm. Now, if you're wondering where to start small. Pick one thing. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Take a daily walk. Keep your desk clean. Let that single act be your anchor. Then build from there. Discipline isn't about doing everything right. It's about doing something right repeatedly until your life begins to reflect the kind of person you've always wanted to become. So if you want to become someone who naturally commands respect, build habits that reflect that respect. Don't wait for the world to see your value. Show it to yourself first. And once you do, you'll be surprised how quickly others will feel it too, without you ever needing to say a word. 8. Moral compass. The quiet power of living by principle. Let me ask you something personal. Who are you when no one's watching? Because that, more than your words, more than your image, is what defines your moral compass. And that inner alignment, it radiates in ways you can't fake. In a world full of noise and shifting values, someone who stands firm in their integrity becomes magnetic. Not because they're trying to impress, but because they've made peace with themselves. And that kind of peace has a presence. You've probably felt it before. You meet someone and there's just a calm about them, a sense that they know who they are and what they stand for. They don't need to broadcast their values, they embody them. There's no performance, no manipulation, just grounded clarity. And that is rare. Living with a moral compass doesn't mean being perfect. It means being anchored. It means choosing what's right even when it's inconvenient, being honest even when it costs you, standing for something even when you're the only one standing. That kind of integrity doesn't scream for attention, but it earns deep respect. And more importantly, it builds trust. People might not agree with every choice you make, but they'll know what to expect from you. They'll feel safe around you. And in today's world, that kind of consistency is priceless. You see, the most attractive people aren't the ones who know all the trends or say all the right things. They're the ones who live with intention, the ones who have taken the time to decide what they believe in, and then actually live by it. That's not just admirable. That's rare, and rare is powerful. But here's the challenge. Living by your principles isn't always easy. It's tempting to compromise, to bend, to take shortcuts when no one's looking. But every time you do, you trade a bit of your self-respect. And over time, that shows. You lose that inner glow. You start to feel scattered, disconnected, unsure of yourself. On the other hand, when you choose alignment, when your actions match your values, you walk taller, you speak with clarity, you become someone others can depend on, not because you're flawless, but because you're consistent, honest, real. So let me leave you with this. What are the values that guide your life? Have you written them down? Have you tested them in the real world? And most importantly, do you live by them when it's hardest to? If not, that's okay. Because every day is a chance to return to who you truly are. And when you do, when your inner compass points north, even in storms, you'll discover a quiet power that changes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. That's the kind of strength no one can take from you. Now that we've explored the internal values, discipline, integrity, self-mastery, let's take it a step further. Because how you manage your energy, your presence, and your boundaries, that's what people feel without explanation. Let's dive into part 4, the silent signals your energy sends before you even speak. 9. Mysterious energy, the silent power of not saying everything. Have you ever met someone who said very little, but left a lasting impression? They weren't trying to impress. They weren't putting on a show, and yet something about them stayed with you. That's the quiet magic of mystery. In a time where everyone shares everything, every thought, every opinion, every moment of their lives, there's something wildly attractive about someone who doesn't. Someone who chooses to keep parts of themselves private, who knows when to speak and when to simply let their silence speak louder. You see, mystery isn't about being secretive or distant. It's about being intentional. It's about understanding that you don't owe your entire life story to everyone you meet, that withholding a little, your past, your opinions, your emotions, doesn't make you closed off. It makes you intriguing, because curiosity is powerful. When people don't know everything about you, they lean in, they wonder, they observe, and more importantly, they respect your boundaries. You give them space to approach you instead of chasing their attention. Think about it. What pulls you in more? Someone who immediately overshares every detail of their life, or someone who reveals themselves slowly, intentionally, like chapters in a meaningful book? It's the latter, always the latter. That's because mystery signals value. It says there's more here, but you'll have to earn it. And that simple energy shift changes how people engage with you. It creates anticipation. It invites connection without desperation. But here's where it gets even more important. When you guard your energy, when you don't give everything away, you also protect your peace. You create space for your thoughts to breathe. You keep your dignity intact. And in doing so, you show others that you value yourself, that you're not available for consumption. You're not trying to entertain. You're living with purpose. This doesn't mean you hide who you are. It means you share with intention. You reveal depth through presence, not performance. And you trust that the right people will be drawn not to how loud you are, but to how real you are. So here's a question worth reflecting on. Are you sharing to connect or to fill a void? Are you revealing yourself because it's true to your values, or because you're afraid people will lose interest if you don't? When you shift your energy from chasing approval to protecting mystery, you reclaim your power. You become the kind of person people remember, not because of what you say, but because of what you hold back with grace. The truth is, you don't need to explain yourself to be understood. You don't need to overshare to be seen. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply let your silence carry weight. 10. Strong boundaries. The quiet strength of saying no. Let me offer you a truth most people learn the hard way. If you don't set boundaries, the world will set them for you, and it won't be kind about it. We often think that being liked means being available, agreeable, accommodating. So we say yes when we really want to say no. We overextend, overcommit, and slowly, almost invisibly, we begin to shrink ourselves to fit into other people's expectations. But here's what they don't tell you. People don't respect those who say yes to everything. They respect those who know their limits and are calm, clear, and grounded enough to honor them. Saying no doesn't make you rude. It makes you real. It's not rejection, it's direction. When you say no without guilt, You're not pushing people away. You're protecting your time, your energy, and your values. And that kind of self-respect is magnetic. It sends a silent but unmistakable signal. I value myself enough not to betray myself. Think about it. What kind of people do you trust and admire most? Is it the ones who bend over backwards just to be liked? Or the ones who have a calm confidence about what they will and will not allow in their lives? Strong boundaries create strong presence. They tell the world, I'm not here to be used. I'm here to live meaningfully. And ironically, the moment you stop people-pleasing is often the moment people begin to respect you more. If you struggle with boundaries, start small. Practice saying, let me think about it. Buy yourself time. Observe how you feel when you say yes. Are you acting from alignment or from fear? Remember, boundaries are not walls. They're doors with locks. You still choose who comes in. You're just not leaving yourself wide open for anyone and everyone to enter uninvited. And when you live with this kind of quiet clarity, it shows in your eyes, in your voice, in your decisions. People can sense it, and they respond with trust, with admiration, and with space. The kind of space where real connection, not manipulation, can actually grow. So if you've been feeling stretched thin, overlooked, or quietly resentful, maybe the solution isn't to try harder. Maybe it's to protect better. A grounded no can often be more loving to both yourself and others than a resentful yes. Say it with grace. Say it with stillness. But most importantly, say it when you mean it. 11. Being fully present, the ultimate silent power. In a world that's constantly rushing, where people check their phones mid-conversation, where minds wander before sentences even finish, there's something incredibly rare and deeply magnetic: presence. To be fully present is to give someone or something your complete attention, not just with your eyes, but with your energy, with your stillness, with your heart. And here's what most people don't realize. Presence is power, quiet power. It doesn't need to announce itself. People feel it. When someone is truly present with you, you know it. It feels like you matter, like you're seen, heard, valued. And in that moment, a connection forms, not through words, but through being. Now think about how often that actually happens in your life. Probably not enough, right? That's because multitasking has become a badge of honor. We're praised for juggling 5 things at once, checking emails while on a call, replying to texts while eating dinner. But in that frenzy of divided attention, we lose something important: connection. You don't become attractive by being everywhere. You become attractive by being fully where you are. Presence is a combination of 3 powerful qualities: confidence, care, and awareness. Confidence says, I don't need to prove anything. I'm right here with you. Care says, you matter to me and I'm listening. And awareness says, I'm paying attention to the moment, not just reacting to it. That's why when you speak to someone who's fully present, you lean in. You want to stay. You remember them. Not because they said something brilliant, but because they made you feel something rare, fully acknowledged. So how do you cultivate presence? Start by slowing down. When you talk to someone, put the phone away, make eye contact. Don't just wait for your turn to speak. Actually listen, breathe, ground yourself in the moment. Feel your feet on the floor. Hear the tone behind the words. Presence isn't something you need to perform. It's something you practice. And the more you practice it, the more others will be drawn to you. Not for your status, your looks, or your words, but for your energy. That's the silent pull of presence, the unspoken confidence of someone who chooses to live here, now, fully. And that's a rare kind of beauty in today's noisy world. The silent path to being irresistible. So here we are. We've explored 11 habits that don't need a spotlight, yet somehow steal the room. Not because they shout, but because they resonate quietly, powerfully. You see, silent attraction isn't about playing games or faking mystery. It's about being so aligned with your values, so grounded in your presence, that people can sense your strength before you even speak. It's not something you buy, not something you post. It's something you become through discipline, through stillness, through intentional living. The world today constantly pushes us to be louder, to overshare, to prove. But real magnetism comes from restraint, from depth, from knowing who you are without needing external confirmation. Because true power doesn't announce itself. It simply moves through the world, calm, centered, undeniable. So now let me leave you with one question. Are you willing to do the quiet work that creates the loudest impact? Because if you are, then keep walking this path, quietly, powerfully, purposefully. You don't have to demand attention. You just have to deserve it. And the right people will notice without you ever needing to say a word.